One man was responsible for the transformation of an underperforming PF Chang's, leading it through a pandemic that crippled countless other businesses. He turned it into a billion-dollar revenue-generating machine in the process, establishing himself as the business transformation king. And now, he's taken over bankrupt giant, bloated with crippling debt. How did he lead it out of that bankruptcy and set it up for the ultimate business turnaround story? Who is that man, you ask? His name is Damola Ademoluku, and this is not just the story of his rise to becoming the king of business transformation. It's his ultimate playbook for business transformation. Damola Ademoluku was born in Nigeria, moving to the United States when he was 9. He went to Wild Lake High School in Columbia, Maryland, and it was at high school that the seeds for his investment journey were sowed. It began with him joining his school's speech and debate team at the suggestion of one of his teachers, and it turns out he was pretty good at it. He won a $10,000 cash prize, and now he had to decide what to do with it. It was the early 2000s and everyone was making money from real estate, but he quickly realized that it was nowhere near enough money for him to do that. And now he needed to find somewhere else to put his money. You see, he wasn't like the other kids who would have spent it. No, he wanted to invest the money and grow it for the long term. And so he went to the next best thing that was making people fortunes, the stock market. He opened a portfolio and started learning everything he could about the stock market, reading anything he could get about the investment legend Warren Buffett. He was hooked. At Brown University, alongside football, he joined the investment club. His logic being that there were a lot of people whose parents were most likely working in the stock market industry at Brown, and so he would be able to use the investment club to ask them questions and learn. After completing his Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Political Science at Brown, he went on to get an MBA from Harvard, and that's where his journey into the world of high finance began. He began his career at Goldman Sachs, first as an intern in 2009, then full-time as an investment analyst in 2011. He went on to work as a private equity associate at TPG Capital in 2013. But his next career step would be the one to begin his rise as the turnaround king. He took this step in 2016, and this step was him joining Paulson & Co., an investment management company, as a partner at the age of 27, in an industry where the average person doesn't become a partner until they're at least in their 40s. His job there? Sourcing deals for the company. But his breakthrough deal didn't come for at least 3 years, and when it came, he could hardly even believe his luck. Centerbridge Partners was selling one of its prized acquisitions, PF Chang's. PF Chang's had been doing very well by any stretch of the imagination. For example, it had reached an estimated revenue of almost $1 billion the previous year. But Damola felt like the brand had been underutilized, and they could get some more revenue out of it by making some changes. So he pitched the whole idea to John Paulson, the managing partner at Paulson & Co. Paulson gave the green light, and Damola began the deal process. Paulson & Co., alongside Tri-Artisan Capital, led the reported $700 million acquisition of PF Chang's from Centerbridge Partners. Damola was appointed the Chief Strategy Officer of the brand, and then in 2020, he transitioned into becoming the CEO of the company. Damola's strategy for PF Chang's focused on 3 aspects of the business: outside the restaurants, inside the restaurants, and the people. In terms of outside the restaurants, his focus was what he called the off-premise business, and it simply was takeaway and delivery. PF Chang's off-premise business constituted only about 18% of the chain's revenue, in an industry where most other chains had an off-premise experience constituting up to 50% of the chain's revenue. This reflected 2 things. PF Chang's had heavily underinvested into their off-premise business, and the fact that this 18% of revenue number was by accident reflected the chain's overall attitude about it. It also reflected Damola's strategy formulation process, which was based on cold, hard data. He simply looked at the numbers, saw something missing, and pushed for investment in that direction. And that's the next logical step that he took. The company invested into what they termed the PF Chang's to-go concept. It involved smaller footprint restaurants, catering to takeaway, in-store pickups, and delivery. It was a resounding success. And that strategic move was about to prove to be prophetic when the greatest disruption of our lifetimes came. When other restaurant chains were scrambling to sort out their takeaway and delivery, PF Chang's had already been working on theirs for over a year. However, their plan also faced its own challenges. The initial assumption had been that the to-go concept would mainly be catering to office workers, and while COVID quarantined that plan, but residential sales still boosted it up. Now, back to the second part of the strategy, which was inside the restaurants. He saw a few things that needed to be changed, mainly centered around the whole experience around the meal. The lighting was too bright, the music non-existent, and the decor was bland and boring.
So we focused really on the ambiance, the experience, and that means a few things. Number one, the actual decoration and the color scheme, et cetera, in the restaurant. The lighting, setting the right tone with that. The music, making something unique, a unique playlist that we created for PF Chang's that transports you to, a different world.
They further introduced a model they called theater at the table, aimed at elevating the table experience of customers.
So we call that theater at the table, right? So even dishes that we already had, just making them more interesting, more fun.
And onto his last strategic focus, people. The first aspect of this was arming the people with the right tools and technology, including an updated inventory management system for chefs. He also pushed for employees to be more valued by the company.
If you can improve your retention and reduce your turnover, you're going to reduce training costs, you're going to reduce recruiting costs, you're going to reduce the lack of productivity that's inherent when you hire a new person to take an old person's job.
By 2023, this part of the transformation was complete. And he had not only just helped the chain navigate the COVID pandemic, he had helped it thrive. And so he stepped down as CEO, returning to Paulson & Co. to focus on sourcing more deals. His transformation had been staggering. Sales had grown over 31% in 2021 as compared to 2020. Overall sales between 2019 and 2022 had grown over 13% and had pushed past the $1 billion mark, and now consistently sat there. Sales per restaurant, aka average unit volumes, rose by 11%, as well as intangible transformation, like a refresh of the ambience of the restaurant. His success in transforming PF Chang's set him up for his next challenge, one that would prove to be more challenging than the last. In May of 2024, Red Lobster announced that it had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, stunning everyone. But it turns out the situation was terrible. It had over $1 billion in debt and less than $30 million in cash on hand. Its sales had dropped by $76 million in 2023, and it had suffered a 30% drop in customers from 2019. And its endless shrimp menu item had made it bleed over $11 million. The brand desperately needed to hit the brakes and perform a hard reset. Fortress Investment Group, LLC, alongside TCW Private Credit and Blue Torch, pooled their funds and formed RL Investment Holdings, LLC, the acquisition vehicle for Red Lobster. They injected $70 million into Red Lobster and dragged it out of bankruptcy. But now they needed some help in strategizing on how to turn this company around. They needed a master in transformation. They needed Damola Badamolokun. Damola was brought on as a consultant on strategy, but he quickly transitioned into becoming CEO of the company. His appointment as CEO of the company was quite significant because at just 36, he was the youngest ever CEO of the company.
Hi, I'm Damola, CEO of Red Lobster. It's a new day, and we're making changes we think you'll be happy with.
His strategy for the revival of Red Lobster also follows a 3-step process. The first one involving fixing things that should have been fixed a long time ago, like HVAC systems and tiling. The second step is all about injecting energy into the restaurant, focused on elevating the customer's experience. To do this, he introduced what they call red carpet hospitality, where staff are trained to recognize guests following the 10-4 rule.
When people walk in, you need to recognize them. You see somebody, you're within 10 feet of them, you recognize them. Within 4 feet, you speak to them. We call it the 10-4 rule.
As well as engage guests through conversation and aiding beyond just taking an order.
You make sure that, when people need to go to the bathroom, you walk them there. You don't point to the bathroom. You escort them.
And delight the guests by creating memorable moments and ensuring the guests have a fun and positive experience. And the one thing tying all of this together was a shift from viewing people who walked into the restaurant as customers to viewing them as guests. A seemingly subtle shift, but one that defined the whole idea of hospitality. The third strategic shift is focused on completely remodeling the stores like he had initiated at PF Chang's. As you may have noticed, all these changes were geared towards bringing more guests back into the chain, and signs show that they've been working. Online reviews have improved. Results are not yet concrete and plentiful, but if there's anyone you should bet on carrying out the ultimate business turnaround and transformation, it's Damola at Molokun. If you've watched till the end of the video, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on for our next project coming in February on the first Black billionaire. You won't want to miss it.